Hi everybody, welcome to my channel and welcome to this beautiful road out in the country, not too far from where I live. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, like this video if you end up liking it, and hit the notification bell. I wanted to discuss all the fires that are going on in the world right now. The world is like literally on fire. Hopefully you're aware of this, but so probably for like the last year or so, I've been watching all these different YouTube channels that keep track of all sorts of things: fires, volcanoes, earthquakes, space weather. Can you see those sunflowers over there? It's that time of year. It's why Kansas is the sunflower state. And just in the time that I've been watching it, you know, things have just been getting crazier and crazier, even from last year, including fires. Probably the two biggest fires that I'm aware of right now. You got the bootleg fire that I believe is still going on in Oregon, and then of course you got the Dixie fire in California, which is the largest fire in California history. But there is just fire everywhere. There are horrific scenes that have been coming out of Greece and Turkey. There's like tons of fire, or like, I don't know if it's one fire or just like a lot of different fires that are going on in Siberia. It's all around the world. And you know, that's not all. You have lots of like really strange flooding that's occurring in places that I'm not used to seeing it happen, namely Europe. There's been flooding and when I say flooding, I mean like crazy flash flooding that's like sweeping away cars and houses. And I've seen them in France, Germany, Belgium. I believe Italy has had some. Turkey. Turkey is a mess. They're getting pounded like every which way, both with fires and floods. It's a really scary situation. And you know, of course there's the mainstream explanation of why this is happening, and they want to blame it on you and me for driving our cars. But there are scientists that present other theories and other data that they've observed. You just have to research it. But whatever the cause, it doesn't really matter. These are just more signs of the times. Like in fact, these are kind of like some of the main signs of the times, I think. I'm gonna I think for this video, I'm going to, down in the description box, I'll put all the different channels that I follow that observe all these things and report on it. There's a lot of things going on with space weather too. There's this one thing you may or may not have heard of called the Schumann Resonance, and essentially it's kind of a measure of the electrical resonance frequency within Earth's atmosphere. And it's affected by things like lightning storms all across the planet, and space weather. Stuff like they're called CMEs. They come from the sun, coronal mass ejections. And when I started watching it last year, specifically on this one channel. The guy's name is James Kaufman. His channel is World News Report Today. And, you know, I'd been watching his channel, and he watches the Schumann Resonance, and just all of a sudden, I don't know exactly what month this started happening. I think it was around maybe October. There just started to be all these huge spikes in the Schumann Resonance. And, you know, why that's important, I don't know if I really believe this too much, but I guess there have been some studies that say that the Schumann Resonance affects us at a physiological level. You know, I can't say that I've really noticed any of that. I'm not sure if that's too real, but there are official studies that say that. But the thing that concerns me is like these huge spikes that have started happening. They don't seem to correlate with space weather, and they're just like massive, literally off the scale. Like, these models that they've put together, they don't even go, they never expected for these spikes to go as high as what we're seeing them right now. So we don't really know how high they're going, but they're coming from seemingly an unknown source, you know, and no one's really put forth a very satisfactory explanation as to what's causing it. And it's become like a very frequent thing, like on a daily basis. So when it comes to the Schumann Resonance, there's two stations that you're able to monitor over the internet publicly. One is located in Tomsk, Russia, and the other one is in Italy. They've both, you know, been showing these spikes, and I don't know what it means, but I do know that it's out of the ordinary. Okay. The sun is starting to go into a new solar cycle. The solar cycle goes for 11 years, and we're starting solar cycle 25, and there's just been a lot of things going on with that. We've seen a lot of activity from the sun, and some theorize that the sun actually affects earthquakes and different things here on Earth. Oh, sorry for just a second. Hi.
Do you need help?
No, I'm just going for a walk. Thank you. Okay, yeah, that was a little bit embarrassing, but it's okay. It's to be expected. So, yeah, I'm gonna put the links down in the description. If you're watching for Signs of the Times, you need to be watching all these things. All the volcanoes that are currently erupting, all the earthquakes. There's been a lot of crazy earthquake activity, especially this, you know, the last 7 days or so. There have been like a lot of big earthquakes. There was a 8.1 that was down near the Sandwich Islands, along with like a 7.2, and then there was the one that was in Haiti. I think there was another one. Can't remember if it was near Alaska, or it was somewhere in the Pacific. But there were just like a lot of large earthquakes, 7.0 or above, within a relatively short time. And anyway, there's just been a lot of stuff going on with earthquakes. So I would just advise you, watch these channels. You know, keep your head on a swivel. It may not be affecting your area, but that doesn't mean that the signs of the times aren't happening. There are definitely people that are dealing with all these different things. I mean, just north of me up in Nebraska, there was like major flooding, and there was this video of these people that were in, I think they were in Lincoln, and they were in an elevator, and the water was like up to their necks, and they were just holding on for dear life. You know, down in Cedar City, Utah, and the Enoch area, there's been all this crazy flash flooding and really kind of horrific scenes. So, you know, things aren't normal right now. The great and dreadful day of the Lord is approaching. I think there's no doubt about that. And I can only assume that it's just gonna get worse. My mother-in-law, she lives up in the panhandle of Idaho, near Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. And, you know, they've been doing a garden on their property ever since they moved to where they're at. And this year, they didn't even get enough tomatoes to can, which is something that they usually do. They can tomatoes, a lot of their other things, like I think their raspberry bushes died, and they just didn't really get a very good yield this year. Because of course you got the drought and the heat dome up around those parts. I'm sure you're aware of all these like really low levels of water in like Lake Mead, Lake Powell. In California, there's the Lake Oroville it's at its lowest level that's ever been recorded. I'm just glad that I don't live in Phoenix anymore, frankly. I'm not so worried over here about water, but you know, there's even talk of potential famine and food shortages later this year. So if you haven't already, now is the time to build up your food storage. You know, you don't have to go crazy, but it would be wise to get water, get food, and as soon as possible, if you're able to, start a garden. And even better, do what I did. Move somewhere where you can get land, where you can have animals, where you can be out of these big cities. You know, on my property, I have a stream. Right now it is dried up, but it's gonna fill back up. It did this last year too, but it was only dry for like a couple months, then it filled back up. But you know, I got a stream on my land, and we can take that water and purify it if we need to. We have chickens that we can butcher and process, you know. We have eggs, we got our cows, we have some turkeys, we got our goose. We have a lot of options. Plus we got our fruit trees, which, you know, they're not going to be producing fruit for a couple years, but and then of course we have our garden, which again, this year we didn't do too good with it. We should have done a lot more like weeding, and we should have put down more hay, I think, to keep the weeds down, to block out the sun. But you know, this place that we're living in, we're paying less for a mortgage than we would for some apartments, you know, back in Salt Lake or Phoenix. You know, it's just kind of ridiculous. And I'm feeling a lot better now living here than I did back in Phoenix, you know, where it's a desert and everyone's concerned about water. And if we had to start a garden there, you know, there's probably some stuff we probably could have planted, but it'd be a lot more difficult than here in Kansas, where you can pretty much grow anything, and you're surrounded by beautiful farmland. And you know, everyone out here, well, not everyone, but you have so many farmers and homesteaders and ranchers. This is a place of life, and Arizona, Vegas, Utah, those are places of death. And if you live there, I mean, that's fine. I used to live there too, but you know, just think about your options. You don't have to stay there. Anyway, that's a topic for another video, and there's another car coming. So I'm just going to end it here. Please subscribe, hit the like button, hit that notification bell, and I'll talk to you next time.